Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2. Ho, ho, ho.
Merry Christmas.
We are live. ggCircuit Twitch Cast 12/23, 2015. Almost the last. I guess we'll do one more next week. Hi, Zach.
Right. Hi, J Mac. This will be our, we'll have one more week that we'll be in the same country. Right. And then you're going to sprout wings and go visit Mark over at Guff Games in Australia. That's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. It's quite the opportunity. Going to go spread some education over there in Australia, teach kids how to make their own video games.
Because they need educated? Is that what you're going to do?
Well, it's going to be fun. It'll be a fun thing.
It'll for sure be fun. Yeah. You and I talked about this off camera, I think it was yesterday, but, just the business that we're in, we just want to help and grow the industry however we can, and this is a perfect example of, we've developed this camp program in the summers the last 3 years, and, Guff's got 7 stores down there in Australia, and if it's a way that we can kind of take all that hard work that you've put into that program and help their stores bring in some extra income during the summer months, it's super cool because, again, it's starting to get cold here and rainy and hopefully snowy soon, and over there the kids are all out for the summer, after the holidays. So it's really bizarre to think about. So it'll be interesting in a couple weeks when we do a show where you're in a different time zone, because it'll be, I know when I talked to Mark before, it's 11:23 a.m. here, but it would be, 10 p.m. his time. Yeah. And a lot of times I talk to him late, and then it's actually the next day. So I'll have to try to do one of our shows while you're down there. That's actually 2 different days. We're operating from 2 different days in time.
Right,
like time travel.
We'll be doing it at 8 a.m. your time, and it'll be like 2:30 in the morning or something like that my time. Should be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Should be interesting.
All right, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, a lot of fun stuff. A lot of new things going on. There's always new things going on. I feel like I start every show saying, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but let's just jump right in. You ready?
Yeah, a lot of good feedback last week on our video when we talked about what's going on with us. A lot of good support and contacts from our centers that are involved in our World Video Games League of ggCircuit and beyond, and center support. So let's keep it rolling.
Yep, sounds good. All right.
Growth idea of the week.
So we're going to combine the new center startup question of the week with existing centers grow your business idea, because this is very applicable to both, and it's coming from an experience I've had the last week in dealing with DirecTV. So what I want to talk about is getting a new customer in your store and keeping them, and I think those are 2 very separate things, but they're very, very important to be put together as you're thinking about. If you're a brand new center and you're just starting, it's one of the things you need to, of course, focus on because you have 0 customers. But if you're an existing center, I think a lot of us don't spend enough time looking at like CRM solutions for customer retention management and customer experiences and keeping those people around that we've worked storing in the store and keep them around. So DirecTV, if you're in another country, you may not, I don't know if DirecTV, I'm sure that you can do it in a lot of other countries around the world because it's a satellite, and most of the areas of the world see these satellites even though they go in orbit right above a certain country. So DirecTV is our satellite provider at home, and anybody that's had a satellite service will relate to this, but they get you with an incoming offer. So for $99 you can join and get 12 months under a contract for a very low monthly rate of maybe $20 a month, and they get you hooked, and then the price goes up, and then you try to negotiate some deals and the price will go up again, and it's just a never-ending battle to get the price at the point that you want to pay. And if you don't call them, it just always is going up. So every year, 2 years ago, my wife used to do this, and she would just get super upset. It would be hours on the phone with them trying to explain we don't want to pay more than this much a month, and they find like deals to give her. And 2 years ago she was just in tears. She'd been working with them all day. Our bill had gone up. Again, the bill will just all of a sudden go up by 50%. And so a week ago this happened again. It happens every year. We've been a customer of theirs for 5 years. And so I called. Our bill was $60. every month for 12 months. It was $60, $60, $60 for the channels the kids want, the channels my wife wants, and the channels I want. I can watch football. They watch the Disney Channel. She watches Bravo and Real Housewives or whatever it is. Our bill all of a sudden, because all these discounts ran out from the last time I called and negotiated, so it went to $97. So $60 to $97, which is higher than a 50% increase in our bill. So I called them and said, I do this every year. And, oh, yeah, well, we just don't really have any discounts to give you right now. Can we move you to another package? Okay, so what channels get taken out? I ended up just canceling last week on the phone. I just said, hey, I'm not under contract. I have no agreement to be with you. And maybe we'll just go offline, with any of these providers. I'll stream some stuff through the internet. I called them back just this morning, right before the show. And again, I just wanted to give them a chance for customer retention and keeping me as a customer versus trying to get a brand new customer in their store. We ended up finally negotiating on a price of $71 a month. So this guy, obviously in another department, since I'd already quit the company, they were then in a whole nother department trying to keep me as a customer. And he had the ability to do some things the other salesperson didn't. And I said, listen, I'm a small business owner. I know that, sure, your list price is $100, but if I leave, you're getting zero. So, the difference is not the $100 discounted to what I want to pay. The difference is zero or whatever I pay you. And so right now I'm willing to pay you $65 or $70 a month. I understand if the price needs to go up a little bit every year, but I'm not willing to pay you $75 or $80 or $85 or $90. So you can either have me at 70 or you can have me at zero. Like, I just took charge of the conversation. It wasn't your list rate was $100 and I can give it to you for 80, which seems like a good discount. To me, it was like, well, yeah, if you could convince me for 80, you'd get it. But I'm telling you, you're going to get zero from that direction. So we ended up settling on $65 plus taxes. So it's like $73 a month. And I haven't told my wife yet, but she'll be happy. We got to turn back on. But this whole experience caused me to pull some numbers up from some of our eBash stores. And I challenge all of you sinners out there to look at these numbers. As we're looking at these for eBash, look at these numbers in your store and see if you see the same things that I do. In Terre Haute, at our eBash store, the last 3 months, we've added 113, 143, and 164 new customers for a total of 420 new customers in the last 3 months. Now, granted, a lot of people that follow us, that watch our show, that I talk to are not as big of a store and as big of a community as we are. But, our community is not big. eBash in Terre Haute is a community of 60,000 people. We're the only entertainment option for the teenage type group besides like a standard bowling or skating. I don't even know what teenagers do these days. But so I feel like 420 is a lot of new customers over 3 months. So in 3 months in eBash Terre Haute, we've added 420 customers. In our Indianapolis store, which is newer, so it's not been around as long. It's only been around a couple years. We added 181 customers in September, 236 in October, and 262 in November, for a total of 679 new customers that have walked in and created an account. So they've bought something, not just walked in and asked questions, but they've walked in, bought something, or we gave them a free hour to try it, or for whatever reason, we put them into our system. 679 new customers in the last 3 months in our Indianapolis store. Now, before I looked at those numbers, if somebody was talking to me through a Twitch cast or a YouTube video like this, I would think to myself, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Like, your store is going crazy. 679 new customers is just beyond excitable. Like, that's so many new people to put into your system. There's something wrong in my stores, and I intend to figure out what that problem is, because those 679 new customers the last 3 months are not translating into regulars in our store. So those 679 new customers are not coming back over and over and over into the store. Now, we'll talk about this later, but I think, again, in the software business, in game centers, cyber cafes, LAN houses, whatever you want to call them, this is something we're really missing. Like, we need data like this analyzed and produces reports and produces action items for centers to tell them what to do when you've got a great case of 679 new customers walking in your store in 3 months. So there needs to be an action item in place and a way to track returning customers and things like that. But I want to talk about, so those 679 customers came in our store. For argument's sake, let's just assume that 600 of them have not come back since that first time. It may be more than that. But so I've got 600 people that did not come back into the store. So 79 of them came back. What makes a customer come back or not come back to your store? Think about that for a minute, and you think about if somebody new comes in and they try it out and they stay for an hour and they go home, what makes them either not come back, like something negative, or what makes them come back something positive? So I've broken it down in just a few things that I want to talk about that I think are important for land centers specifically, and it applies for a lot of different small businesses. But number one, does your customers, do they like the staff or do they not like the staff? The relationship of the employees front counter or the employees working in the store with the customers direct if whether or not those people come back. Everything else could work or not work. Like, I want to assume right off the bat, if you're a legitimate center, your store works. Like, games launch and games work, and you have games that they want to play. Like, you just have to assume, for argument's sake, that a real business owner, that's a basic concept that a land center owner should understand. Like, things work. So it's not a matter of if they went and sat down and the game worked or not. They walked in, and their interaction with the staff, did they like that staff member? Did they make a relationship? You know, one of the things we're looking at doing is hiring 2 females for the Terre Haute store, because, again, I think a female at the front counter with a majority male customer base relates to them better, not for anything between the two different sexes, but just because girls tend to be nicer and friendlier, especially in a retail environment, than boys do. Like, it's just the way they're built. They make relationships. Girls like to make friends. They like for people to like them, so they go overboard wanting people to like them. The second thing is, do they like the other customers in your store? So if the customer came in, they walked to the front counter, they met J-Mac at the counter, he's really fun and energetic, talks shop with them, they like the same games, then they go sit down next to somebody that's just unfriendly or smells bad or, you know, is rude to them or whatever the reason, that almost immediately offsets that positive experience they had at the front counter with your staff. So do they like your other customers? Third thing is, do they like the game selection that you have available? Because, again, you know, you could have a lot of games that work, but if that customer's into RPG games and you only have shooters, you do not have a game that appeals to them. So do they like your staff? Do they like the customers? Do they like the games you have? All right. The fourth thing, what about your store's ambiance, look and feel, atmosphere, and vibe? So when they walk into your store, they like the guy at the front counter, they like the customer, they like the game. But your store smells bad. Maybe they're a non-smoker and you allow smoking in your store. Maybe, and again, throwing stones at myself, maybe your bathroom at the store is terrible, and they after an hour being there, they don't even in your bathroom because it's so disgusting. So that, you know, gives them that negative effect or negative remembrance of your store. What is the atmosphere, the ambiance, the vibe of your store? It could be as simple as, like, the music you play. Maybe you like country western music, and that's what you play, and they don't like country western music. There's a lot of little things and decisions that you make that could cause a customer to come back or not come back to your store. The fifth thing is, what can they do while they're there? And this is a big one, again, for ggCircuit, and what we are all about is give them leaderboards, give them events, give them things outside of the experience that they get at home. So if they like your app, they like your customers, they like your games, they like your atmosphere, but it becomes monotonous, like they just always come back and do the same things over and over and over, that'll be another negative reasons of why they may not come back. The last thing I'm going to quickly touch on, because this one I think this last thing is the thing that centers on. They either can or can afford the price. Like, you cannot make people come back to your store. Customer retention should never be about price. When you think about running your business and you think about how many stations you have, you decide what you need to charge for your store, and that price is what you need to charge. You cannot use that price, and you cannot use sales and offers and things as the reason people come back and you retain customers. If you go down that wormhole, then you'll find yourself years down the road discounting further and further and further, because that's the only thing you understand how to do. Like, if the guy came and paid $5 last time, you think that by charging him $4, you're going to get him to come back again. I can tell you right now, if that's how you're bringing him back, you're missing the other 5 things I just covered, which are way more important than the price. So do not sit down. But this is what all land centers, because all of the software we have today, all it does is produce sales reports. That's all it does. All it tells you is hey, how many sales did you have today? And so you look at your products, you're like, well, 10 people bought a day pass and 4 people bought hours. I need to work on my pricing. I need to figure out other packages. And all these LAN Center software packages that are out there are so super detailed and complex. Like guys are like, thinking about, okay, like at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., if I charge this lower rate, like I can fill the store up at that point. I can tell you right now that at any given time, at any given period, at any given day, there are people that would like to come back to your store for one of the first 5 things I listed. It has nothing to do with price. It has nothing to do with the offer. They either cannot or can afford your service. That's what you need to consider. If they're poor and they don't have a lot of money to spend, you can't make business decisions to try to bring that customer repeatedly back to your store. You have to look at your general audience, try to price it as competitively as possible for their entertainment dollar, to the point that you can run your store and you can make your store successful. And then you go back to the first 5 things I talked about. That's where you focus your time. How's your staff? How's your other customers? How do they affect the people in your store? What kind of games do you have? Do you have the right games available for everybody? What's the atmosphere, the ambiance like? And what else do you have to do in your store? What else can you have them do while they're in your store to give them reasons to come back? Those 5 things, I feel like, are the things that are the most important. Okay, so action items. Let's talk about what you need to do. So if you take those 5 things, staff, customer relations, games, atmosphere, and events, or what they can do in your store, and you figure out, okay, how am I doing on those? How do I know if I'm doing well? How do I know what I need to improve on? Here's a surprising thing. First, just grab your regulars that are coming in your store. Ask them why they come in. Just pull them aside and ask them, what's your favorite thing about this store? Guaranteed, 100%. All of you that feel comfortable grabbing a regular, it's because you have a relationship with them. It's because of you they come in the store. Almost hands down guaranteed. Now, there'll be a couple exceptions where there's like the weird guy that just comes in, he doesn't talk to anybody, goes to the corner, he plays World of Warcraft the whole time. He's coming for the game. So you don't even have to probably ask him. You know why he's coming in there. It's for that game. He's getting to play that game. But ask them, why do you come in? Ask them about their specifically, how do you get along with other customers? Who do you like here? Who do you like to play with? That'll tell you how their interaction with other customers are. What do you like about the store? Do you like the chairs? Do you like the music that we play? How do you feel about the cleanliness of the bathroom? What do you feel like the mouse and keyboards? That will give them the atmosphere, ambiance, vibe feedback. And then ask them what other events they like. You don't have to do what they ask. Everybody's going to have wild and crazy ideas, but just get some feedback from your regulars. Now, for the rest of your customers that are coming in, so in eBash, Indianapolis, 679 people the last 3 months have come into the store. Number 1, did I get some sort of contact information from them? Did I get a Twitter account? Did I get a Facebook account? Did I get a cell phone number to SMS or text them? Did an email address to email them? You got to start there. You got to get a way to reach out to them and ask them the same questions. Maybe a survey, maybe an email follow-up with a coupon, maybe a text follow-up with a coupon, with a reason to get them back in the store, and then talk to them. Here's something surprising. Spend some time with your customers and talk to them. You'll be doing number 1 right off the bat, making a relationship with them, and then they'll help you answer those other questions. What do you think? Are there people you like here, don't like? Is there a way that we can subdivide the store to put older customers in one side, younger customers in another? Do the console customers bother the PC customers? Is there certain PC customers that are really loud when they play? How do we get them away from other guys that want to be more quiet while they play? Just start asking questions of your customers, both new and old. I think, again, the biggest thing that I'm saying through this whole section is I'm embarrassed to talk about this with such passion like we have it figured out, and we don't have it figured out. I'm embarrassed to even share that we had 679 new customers walk into our store in Indianapolis in the last 3 months, because I have nothing to show of increased sales or new regular customers or repeat customers or anything else. I don't have any way of sharing any other bit of knowledge to all of our followers out there of what that actually means, which is super, super, super embarrassing and disappointing on our part. But I can tell you, doing this Twitch cast and going through this exercise has opened my eyes into one of the things that I want our managers to turn around and start looking at every single month. Every single day, every single week, take it a little bit at a time. 5 new customers yesterday. 5 new ones came in yesterday. Okay, what are we doing to those 5 new customers? How do we reach them? Did you get their email address? Did you get their text, cell phone number? Can we text them? How do we reach back out to them and ask? How was your experience yesterday? What would make it better? Was there a problem? Let me fix that problem for you. Come back in and play for an hour for free and try me now. Introduce yourself. Tell them what kind of games you play. Let your employees reach out to them. Maybe one of your employees might connect with them better than you. So this is something we all have to do. I don't have any other great, grandiose advice other than I can tell you that with ggCircuit software and with the software and other packages we're working on right now, this is a focus. This is something that we need to do. All of us at all of our LAN centers, we need to stop focusing on how do I make this game work without the CD and the drive. We need to stop focusing on how many different weird products can I have in my system to sell hours at discounts and everything else. We need to start focusing on the keys for a successful small business and why people would keep coming back to our stores. They're not going to come back because you've figured out the really cool offer that's super complicated and they can't remember if it's Tuesday night special or Wednesday night special or whatever else. Let's all work together. Let's build this system that gives us the CRM materials that we need to be able to grow our business.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say when you were talking about pricing is you got to be careful and you have to be over communicative with your staff about changes in pricing. And if you're going to be fluctuating all the time, that's just going to confuse your customers. So you really need to try to stay consistent, because we've had a lot of times where some of our staff doesn't know some of the specials we have going on, or something changed all of a sudden, and maybe you have a regular that hasn't come back in a week, and they're angry because they paid this price last week and now they're paying this price this week, and why is it more, why is it less, whatever, why couldn't I pay that last week? Stay as consistent as possible and try not to always be throwing specials just at certain times just because you think you're going to get more customers, not necessarily more revenue.
Right. And using an example of in the past, we had an employee that used to work here, Kyle McCormick. We all called him Captain Spears, but he had like an ongoing kind of contest that he would play as the guy that memorized everybody's usernames. Like he knew when they walked through the door, like it was a game he played. Like instantly, like before they would get to the door, he would tell the other employees, "Oh, here comes Tree Hugger. Oh, here comes Dragon Slayer. There's Darth Vader 4714." Like to the number, to the digit, he knew everybody's names. And then he would say hi to them as soon as they walked through the door by their gamer tag and knew them. Those relationships and those things are why people would come back. Like a gamer and a player and a customer wants to know that they're valued and welcome and feel like they're part of the group. So it's not like they sat down and they looked in their wallet and they're like, I really wish I could go to eBash today, but I've only got $5. Like a lot of it is, hey, I want to go see Kyle, and I'm going to figure out how to scrape together enough money to go see Kyle today and to spend a day playing games, because that's really sounds fun to me to do. Like it never should be a question of like, well, I'm not going to go down today because it's the weekend and prices are a lot higher. Or I'm not going to go down today because Tuesdays are cheaper, so I only go on Tuesdays because they're super cheap. Like you want them to value that experience and all those other things about your center, not the price, not the discounts, not the sales. All right.
Yeah.
So we ready to move on? And I'm sure we'll get a lot of follow-ups on those sort of things. And again, we do this Twitch cast early in the morning. We usually only have 10 to 20 people that tune in and watch it. But a lot more people watch the YouTube video. And then again, I get a lot of feedback via email and stuff. Don't be afraid to jump in the ggCircuit Facebook group with all the other LAN centers and post questions and things. And we'd love to answer those things in there, so that you may have ideas that you've thought about that you email me about, and I'll email you back. But it's really not fair for us to keep all that stuff to ourselves instead of sharing that with other LAN centers that could take advantage of some of those ideas and thoughts through these things. So again, love feedback, love questions, and especially ideas following this up. I'll use them at our store. If you've got great ideas, I'm sure a lot of other centers would use them as well. All right. So let's jump into some winter season updates. Do you want to roll through this because you're the screen man?
I'll do my best. Some of these things I wasn't.
That sounds like Xander. I'm just doing my best.
I wasn't quite prepared for, but so last week was the first week of the winter season. We have more or less 3 competitions going on at the same time.
Yep.
Your center versus center challenge each week, your player versus player overall challenge, and then the per game player versus player challenge. So last week The first center versus center challenge was assists. And keep in mind, the center versus center challenge goes 8 weeks. Once the 8 weeks is over, the top 2 centers in each region will go to a 2-week season finals to duke it out for the ggCircuit Cup. So last week, we'll see how my computer handles this. In Asia and Australia, the 2 top centers were Hub Esports and Guff Geelong. In Europe, the top 2 centers were Escape Gaming and Elite Madrid. In the Middle East was Challenge Arena, number 1, and Flamingo Billiards, number 2. In North America, Land Sharks was number 1. Ebash Terre Haute was number 2. Ebash Terre Haute, we know the most information about because they had their huge Christmas lock-in last weekend, and the store was filled for 24 hours. South America, Zona 0 was number 1, and Sector 1 close behind it. So that's
so Anselmo and Overzone were not in the top 2 last week.
Not in the top 2.
Oh.
He's got to get it together.
I mean, they're the winners of last season. They have the cup at their store there in Brazil.
Right.
Huh.
And
interesting.
In regards to the overall player standings, I don't have that information. I know the number 1 player last week was Artie from Sector 1, and he won a Klipsch headset, which we'll talk about the winners here in a second. Each week, the weekly winner will win a headset, a Klipsch headset, and then just like the center versus center, the top 10 players at the end of the 8 weeks will go into a 2-week season finals. So beyond that, let's talk about the winners a little bit. So multiple prizes all over the world given out last week. In North America, we have 5 different $25 Riot Card prizes for all the league leaders last
Sponsored
week.
by Balls.
Sponsored by Balls. Thank you. North America was Sierra the Marked from Game Republic. In South America was Ulysses _25 from Sector 1. From Elite Sevilla in Europe was Tiny LOL.
Woohoo!
In Middle East was M7 MD 1417 from Challenge Arena. And in Asia and Australia was Gabby from Hub Esport, all League of Legends winners. The 2 other skill game winners, number 1, the Dota winner was Got Point Gaming. His username was Genric. Super excited and wanted to know even before the contest was over whether or not he won. And
I think he might have played right through the deadline just because he wasn't sure what time it ended.
Yeah.
So I think he just stayed up all night Sunday playing, through the morning on Monday until he was sure he'd had it in the bag.
Yeah. And then the final winner of the skill games was Senor Burrito from Guff Geelong. Did I say it right that time?
No. Yes. Geelong. Because I want to say Geelong, and he just said it short. Again, you'll be in Australia, so you and Mark can sit down. You can practice.
Sure. Okay. And then finally, the overall points leader was Artie from Sector 1 again, who won a Klipsch headset. So give us a little while to get those prizes organized and out to you. We'll get to them as soon as we possibly can. But a great week 1 for the winter season. People are really starting to get interested. People are really starting to rally behind their centers, and that's a good sign.
Right, and I wanted to share, let me pull up this email real quick because I wanted to share what Ibrahim sent for me from Challenge Arena. So just for last week, he sent me this letter, note, and again, he said a lot of other great stuff in it, but just specifically for last week's challenge, he said, and again, this is me reading directly, so there's I don't even know what the language is there for them at Challenger. I'm assuming it's, I'm not even going to say because I don't want it to offend them, but basically, I believe in customer reward systems, and ggCircuit does that perfectly, and then a lot more. A simple example, after I announced that one of my players won from League of Legends in the first week yesterday, this was on Monday, I made a much higher income on Tuesday than usual, and I was even the top store of the day in ggCircuit. keeping in mind that this is a very slow time for me due to final exams going on. This is a perfect example of the system working, and then in big capital letters, I love it. Like, this is something that is just, people don't understand how much this can influence gamers' habits in your stores. And again, back to my original post or talking point today, how do you get people coming back in your stores? This is the exact reason. You have a winner in your store, you make a big deal of it, you rally them together over a purpose and a cause, and it's your store versus the world. The ggCircuit Cup itself is probably the most important prize of the entire system that we do. Sure, players like to win little things along the way, but unifying them in a weekly goal that puts them all on the same page to represent your center versus the region, and then eventually your center versus the world, will bring those customers together and bring your relationship with the customers together and give them 3 of those 5 points I talked about earlier of what's important for growing your customer base. So just thanks for the great feedback from Ibrahim and some of the other centers that have reached out to me. I know you and I talked about this, but there's already been some people analyzing like other players' patterns. Like, how is this guy doing that? And he's putting up a lot of points, and we're trying to put up a lot of points. And that's when I know, like, it's becoming more and more of a mainstream things for these centers, is that they're studying the contest and they're studying other players and they're watching the other players on their sliders or on their leaderboards on our website and trying to make sure they can leapfrog ahead and get up to that number 1 spot for the week, or make sure they're in the top 10 spots for their region for the season. So it's just super, super awesome, and love the great feedback from everybody.
Yeah, another great example was it seemed Chris down in Game Republic this week, as we went through Monday, he must have rallied a bunch of people to come and play League of Legends as a team, or just say, hey, get in the store and let's play some games, because his center had over half the goal done in 24 hours. Now, he's slacked a bit the rest of the week because everybody's catching up. Yeah. But, I think that's definitely something people want to see, how quickly they can figure out how to win and that kind of stuff, which is super awesome.
Yeah. All right, just a quick update on WANdemonium. I need to hear from other centers. I posted in the Facebook group. A lot of people have emailed me, so I need to hear from other centers, especially around the world. If you're planning on doing some of the global events with us, the League of Legends easy. There's nothing that needs to be done. The Hearthstone one's a little more difficult because it's a bracketed event that's going to happen at 12:30 a.m., in each region. So like in the U.S., the North American bracket will start at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time for Hearthstone. Now, in Asia, Australia, in Middle East, in Europe, and South America, there's probably not enough interest to do a Hearthstone bracket. So we're just maybe not going to even worry about that in those regions, especially if one of the centers in those regions don't step forward and say, hey, I want to organize it and help it run, because it'll be at different times of the day that we may or may not be available to help run it. The League of Legends one, though, however, is a race to 5 ranked wins in the local time zone. So my goal is that by the end of the day, before Christmas, by the end of the day tomorrow, we'll have posted the exact UTC time start for each of the 5 regions for the League of Legends ranked race. So it's going to be a little bit weird for some people, because it may actually start on the 31st, because we need to start it as close to the beginning of the year in the furthest east time zone in your region. So again, Devin in Hawaii is going to, his ranked wins for League of Legends for his players are going to actually start probably around, I think it's 7 or 8 p.m. on December 31st is actually what midnight is on the East Coast of North America. So we'll get that set and posted so you know how to deliberately tell your players exactly when the time starts, because it's a race. It's literally the first 5 ranked wins that are posted in League of Legends. Starting from that time, no matter where you're at in that region, it'll start from that exact UTC time. So that might not be midnight your time. It might be 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. the day before. Anything else on WANdemonium, J-Mac? I know centers in North America, it's a whole nother ball game because we have this great sponsorship from Balls. So we're going to do a big Ring in the New Year free energy drink for everybody at midnight. They sent a big box of swag out. We got that to yesterday or today at the eBay stores. Hopefully the rest of you have gotten yours. it's just like, we're just opening the box to what ggCircuit is going to do in the future. So we love the WANdemonium event. We're kicking it off New Year's. We've discussed doing one every quarter, and in the future, we're talking about doing them in between the seasons. So once the winter season, or we'll start calling it season 4, ends, there'll be a 2 or 3 week lull, and in the middle of that 2 or 3 week lull before the next season, we'll do another WANdemonium.
I think the one thing that I would like to say is just as a center owner, and the kind of topic that you're talking about, keeping your customer, especially on the Hearthstone tournament, if you know you have Hearthstone players that love Hearthstone, ask them if they want to be involved in the tournament and go ahead and get them signed up. It is a 2 or 3 click process as long as they have a ggCircuit account. It's super easy to sign up. We want to see those brackets and those entries start filling up so we know we have a need to run this tournament because it's opportunity for great prizes, opportunity for coins, opportunity extra coins, opportunity to compete on a global level you may not be able to otherwise. Right.
All right. So we'll just close with a little bit of an update. I don't intend on spending more than 5 or 10 minutes on this, but from last week's show and the last couple weeks and the progress that we're making behind the scenes on our projects, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about moving forward. So obviously, a lot about ggCircuit is putting all of these events and processes in place that are automatic, that do a lot of stuff for your players and your centers that aren't necessarily something that's tied with your day-to-day operations that cause you a lot of extra work for your staff. Because of everything that's happened the last 2 weeks, and because of some obligations that we've got to fulfill for some partners like NVIDIA and other markets, we're moving forward with some software development on our side that's going to become hopefully a big community project. There's a lot of centers that we're talking to offline. It's not something that we want to make public yet, so we're not going to talk about it in detail here. But the one thing I want to talk about is that in moving forward and looking at what we want to do moving forward and what we want to take the land industry moving forward, we want to really get away from the stigma and the stereotype of what land centers have always been for the last 15 years. Yesterday, I was working with Anselmo, and we're looking through Brazil, South America, and we're looking at the land center. They call it land houses in Brazil, but Brazil's a gigantic country. I mean, I think like geographically, it's bigger than the United States. It has an estimated, there's different reports we found, but somewhere, and this is how crazy this is, but somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 land centers are in Brazil, South America. Now, it's very different because how you qualify a land center is really up to, 5 PCs in the side of a laundromat could be considered a land center. Whereas 50 PCs that are running esports tournaments is obviously what we all think of as a land center. But going through that, there's a couple companies down there that offer software for running those land centers. And Anselmo sent me a message, and we were talking on Facebook, and he said, hey, I've talked to these guys, but a lot of these guys use this one company for software. I'd never even heard of them. And I know everything about every software company, I feel like, in the industry. Here's a brand new one I never heard of. According to their website, they have over 9,000 land houses using their software throughout Brazil, just in Brazil. So I started looking through, they had, what is a land center? And it really opened my eyes to the problem with our industry is that when land centers started 15, 20 years ago, the purpose of a land center was to provide the players with access to something that they could not get somewhere else. That's very, very important that I want people to focus on, is that land centers, even still to today, and all software and everything that's built out there is built around the idea that we're running our stores to give players access to technology or games or something that they couldn't do at home. And many years ago in the U.S., many years before that in Asia and in areas like South Korea where, 98% of the homes have high-speed internet, that has stopped being a reason to open a land center years ago. And the rest of us, a lot of us are just still plugging away thinking that putting a nice PC up and loading Counter-Strike on it is the reason why people will come to your center. I need to get all these games working, or I need to have these games working properly to get people to come to our center. we have to jump ahead. We have to leave that old cliche behind. We have to get into the modern era of what a LAN center and whether you call it an esports center, whether you call it a gaming center, a LAN house, whatever you call it, we have to stop focusing on trying to provide something physical, technology, games, or whatever the players can get at home. Let's talk about giving them an experience. Let's talk about giving them events and giving them objectives and giving them something that they can't reproduce anywhere else. Even if they invite 3 buddies to their house to bring their systems over and set them up in the living room, what can we do that is different than those 3 or 4 guys in their living room that are all playing? I can tell you that in America, just specifically in America, there was nearly 1,000 LAN centers 10 years ago that were starting up, talking about starting up, like the industry was about that size, and it's under 200 today. And the problem is that even the 200 that are still running today think that their job, we all think that our job is to make sure that we've got Star Wars Battlefront loaded on the PC for our gamers. Not saying that's not important. Not saying that that's not important at all. I think that, however, we're juvenile to think that that's the only thing we need to be worried about. That should come as a given. You have to have working systems. You have to have new games. You have to have a system that functions well enough for the players to enjoy the experience. However, especially from a software standpoint, we have to start thinking about what we can give the player outside of their home. So right now, if you think about it from a player, like everybody that I talk to are LAN center owners, and we get caught up in the software we run and what that does for the center. But if you think about it as what it does to the player, that'll help you back into what we need to do as a center owner to serve that player better. So Michael Winger had a great point from the Gamers Funk a few months ago about what he would like to see ggCircuit do as far as when a player has gone a week and accumulated a few things, let's email the player and give them an update on their last week's progress, where they're at, what their next prize is coming up. That's exactly right. That's exactly like what we need to do. We need to have software that automates that entire process, because none of us are going to follow through and do it if it's something that we have to do on our own. Like, that's what we need our software to do. We need our software to take that customer experience, bottle it up, organize it, rank it, put stats together, funnel it together, and shoot it out, maybe to them individually, maybe through social media, maybe through an email newsletter to the entire group. One of the things I talked about recently is that we want the ability to, at the end of a month, send out a monthly newsletter that all the LAN center has to do is go in and fill out a blank on the website. There's a couple pages with an HTML editor if they want, or just visual editor with a note from the owner. And as soon as they do that and hit the button that they're done, that'll schedule an email to go to every one of their customers that walked into their store the previous month for at least one visit. And that email will be full of all kinds of data and newsletter items that is produced by the system that the LAN center owner didn't have to do anything for. A featured MVP of the month, a random customer of the month that they feature, a top 10 leaderboard for League of Legends, the most sold products in the store. Like, what was your most sold product for the store? Give these players some sort of just value and visibility in your center that they are not getting from us on a normal basis. That's what they'll come back for. They'll learn to know the guy's name who maybe we put in there the top Mountain Dew drinker of the month. You know, at eBash we sell 10,000 Mountain Dews. Who drank the most Mountain Dews last month? That's something that we could put in an automated report into an email out to everybody with zero work from anybody running a LAN center. And those are things that we have to start working on.
It's a good thing for camaraderie and competition too. Is I had a great time playing games, but now look, I've got all these reports that we can look back on for our time here, and we can look forward to next time. I'm going to beat you in the stats next time.
Right, exactly. So to me, what we're talking about is we're talking about jumping forward from where LAN centers are today with the current cafe management softwares. And we came in with ggCircuit and built something in the middle. So we came in and built this thing that we know is what we need to focus on as a group. It's not an esports. It's not a tournament thing. It is those things, but it's also a customer reward system, a customer retention management system, a social marketing and customer relations system. We want to jump forward with that concept and produce software that helps LAN centers run their businesses and grow their businesses. It's easy. It's super easy. And as we become more public with what we're doing, the pieces that are out there are pathetically easy to build. Now, we have a crack team. We have geniuses that are in our development team that are whipping through the recreation of standard LAN center software tools that everybody thinks is like magic and pie in the sky things. And again, for normal people, it is. We can make all of those functions function like everybody else does. It's assumed. You need your games to work. You need your games to launch. You need to sell $20 to a guy, and you need that time to run off his account. Those things are given. Like, those things will be in this package, but we're not even focused on those. Like, it's not about trying to figure out how to give everybody the exact little weird way they want to bill their customer. Those things are pretty standard across the boards, and in fact, that confuses people and directs them. We want to help LAN centers go from 20 stations to 40 stations. We want to help them go from 500 customers to 1,000 customers. We're not going to do that by giving the LAN center owner all these little weird options inside the system for things that the players don't care about. We have to give them things that the players care about, that brings the players back more and more. It's to us, it's very obvious where we need to go, and our focus is very, 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 very dedicated and true to the task at hand, which is delivering to everybody a product that will grow their center. And we'll all be connected together, and we'll all grow together because there's a lot of strength in numbers. It's whether your store is 10 stations or 100 stations, you need to feel like, and your players need to feel like, you're part of something bigger. You're locally represented, you're locally ranked, but you're also part of something bigger. So if you're the unique guy that likes to play this one little weird game, there's chances are there's one unique guy at 100 other centers that likes to play that unique game. And next thing you know, your community, and again, we're talking about communities, social media, chat, in-game connections between players at LAN centers that allows them to make relationships. Your customer at your LAN center should be able to make friends with my customer at my LAN center, and that'll keep both of our customers coming back to our LAN centers to continue to play the games with that person that they've gotten to know and gotten to like. So again, a lot's going to happen over the next few weeks. I'm blown away by our development team. Like, we're going to introduce them to everybody in the coming weeks. A lot more is going to come out in the open. It's not intended to be a secret thing behind the scenes, but there's really no reason, other than we go into our next stage where we develop some more of the added things that are ggCircuit related, not software related for running your LAN center. We'll start reaching out to some people and getting some sponsors and support, but it is a joyous time of the year. The holidays are here. Everybody's happy. A lot of people are seeing family, and I think it's worldwide. It's not like Thanksgiving in America. I was laughing with some senators. I'm like, do you celebrate Thanksgiving? And they're like, the Pilgrims didn't come to my country. But I feel like the holiday season, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Kwanzaa, whatever it is that everybody celebrates around the world, everybody's in a joyous mood right now. Everybody's moving forward, and I can't express how excited we are to be in the space we're in, and what we've been working on for years and years and years is finally got focus and finally got direction, and we have some gigantic people behind us that are really interested in what we're doing outside the LAN center, that are interested in the LAN center business for the first time maybe ever, or for the first time actively in 5 or 10 years since the industry started to decline. They're ready to jump back in, and they're ready to get behind ggCircuit and everything that we're working on.
All right. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas, J-Mac. So you enjoy your Christmas ham and unwrap all your cool presents from your friends and family. I have to crack out the eBash presents, don't I? They're still sitting in here in a box. I need to hand those out probably today.
Yeah. Notice no one said anything about it after we announced it last week, so we'll see.
No, actually, I will. No. Before we go, because I said none of my employees watch this, the manager in Indy, Zach Rainbolt, we call him Creed, said, hey, I knew what we're getting for Christmas because I watch every week the Twitch cast. So hats off to Creed for watching us. And again, if he watched all the way through, he just got another kudos thrown out to him personally. So, yeah.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you soon.